Alright, that's the journey, people. This video is going to be way longer than I thought. I'd be like, alright, here's how you buy an Enfield in India. And now it's just 10 minutes of us
lying in bed and
stressed. It's 11:30 and I'm too stressed to sleep because I just want this bike. Welcome back to Philosophies of Travel. My name's Conrad. That was a bit enthusiastic, wasn't it? Just maybe a bit more casual. Welcome back to Philosophies of Travel. My name's Conrad. I've just gotten back from a 5-week trip in India, going from New Delhi down to Kochi, the bottom, and flying out. Me and my friend did this on a Royal Enfield motorbike. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to buy a motorbike in India. Not rent, but buy. This was hard to find information on and even harder to work out exactly how to do it. So to make it simple for you, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it. Oh, you just go get help and I'll wait helplessly by the side of this here creepy forest here. First up, you can't technically own a motorbike in India because you're not a resident unless you're like a permanent resident or you're a citizen. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Of course I'm joking, guys. Look how long this video is. Clearly, because it's India, if you throw enough money at the problem and you jump through enough loopholes, you can own a bike, but you can't technically have your name on the papers and technically own it, but you can theoretically own it. Before we get to that, you got to look at buying versus renting. How long are you staying? We went for 5 weeks. That was probably the minimum amount of time you would want to buy a bike and sell it, because it can be a pain in the ass to buy and then sell. If you're there for 2 weeks and you just want to get on the road, renting's probably the way to go. When we first got into India, everyone was telling us, oh no, you can't buy a bike, you have to rent one. And we went into some government travel agency.
That is 33 days. This bike, Classic 350, 2018. You can get it, I told you before, you can get some.
They were telling us, no, you have to rent, and renting's heaps better because we'll cover all the costs of the tolls as you go down. Turns out there are no tolls. But they kind of spun some BS about, oh, we've only got 350s, but they're better than 500s because 500s get too hot, and they were kind of telling us all this stuff. And so the quote on that rent for 5 weeks was $1,000 per bike, plus we'd have to ship it back to Delhi, and that would cost probably $80 to $120 per bike. Plus we had to leave $1,000 deposit. Now, if we wreck the bike or damage the bike, we'd lose that $1,000. So then we're up for losing over $2,000 and not getting any of that back. So I did some quick sums and just worked out, if we can buy and sell a bike for less than the rental quote of $1,000, we're up. So that's what we did. Now, before I go through the steps of buying and selling a bike, let's begin with planning your trip. Start in a big city. We started in Delhi, lots of bikes in Delhi. Great. And I would recommend plan a circuit. We didn't do this, but I wish we did. I wish we started in Delhi and ended in Delhi, because as you'll find out in the last section, selling a bike interstate is a terrible idea, but we'll get to that. So try and plan a circuit, even if you get to the bottom and then just train hop your way back if you can't be bothered riding the whole way back up. All right, let's get into it. Part 1, step 1, research. Always a great idea when buying anything. Here's what I learned from my research. You can't buy a brand new bike from Royal Enfield because they have to sign the bike over to someone. And because they can't sign it legally over to you because you're a foreigner, you can't buy a brand new bike. You might be able to buy a second-hand bike from them if the deal is down with the loopholes that I'll explain later. That's a possibility. We didn't do that, so I don't know about that. If you're in Delhi, you can buy a bike from the market, Carolback markets. Pronunciation, unsure. We've been here for 4 days. Carolback's been closed for all 4 except today, so we're gonna get some saddlebags, some bike locks, some accessories.
We got 2 bikes.
We are so close. There's a bike market, there's hundreds of bikes there. You'll definitely find a bike there, but turns out that they're often rebuilds. You don't know where they come from. You don't get the correct paperwork. They're generally pretty unreliable. So we didn't even look. We just went with everyone else's experience. I watched a guy's YouTube video where he's just in the mountains and talking, and he was just talking about how he regretted buying a bike from the market because he didn't get the paperwork, so he couldn't sell it. He could sell it maybe to a foreigner, but couldn't sell it to another local Indian person.
You can go to a place called Carol Bag, which is the big bike market in Delhi. It's where I bought my bike. Shitty bike that's just been sort of taped together, and it's going to last you 500 kilometers before you start having heaps of troubles. Countless things have gone wrong with it, and I really regret not buying it from another traveller.
I tried to learn from other people's mistakes. We didn't even look in the Carol Bag markets, but that's a possibility. The bikes will be cheaper. Bit of a dice roll. And another way you can buy a bike is through private sale, just like any other country. And some of the websites we used, Bikes for Sale, OLX, a few others. OLX is annoying to use because we couldn't send messages. It was just stupid. Didn't enjoy it. Bikes for Sale was good. That's the one we used. So we opted for a private sale. Prices are a bit higher, but the bike's generally been better looked after, and you can look for all the things like service records when you're buying a bike. Indians don't really trust buying things from each other because it's easy to wind back clocks. It's easy to fix up a bike. It's easy to deceive people because they have less checks and balances. Like in Australia, we've got government records where you can see if a car's been written off or things like that. They just don't have that. So a lot of Indian people we spoke to who buy Royal Enfields and are into motorbikes, they buy them new from Royal Enfield because they know exactly what they're getting. And if they don't buy them new, it's really important for them to buy it from a first owner and have all those service records and proof of purchase. And if you buy a bike that is second or third owner, value drops considerably because there's just less trust in knowing where the bike came from. So that's something we learned. Now, in my research component, I would recommend you do this as well. Before I even got to India, I thought, man, Royal Enfield enthusiasts and biking enthusiasts, they love to get together and form clubs. They do it all over the world. So I thought, yeah, they've got clubs. So I jumped on Facebook, looked up Royal Enfield clubs in Delhi, and what do you know? There's heaps of them. So I messaged a lot of them being like, hey, I'm Conrad, I'm an Australian, and I'm coming to India to buy a bike. And they were like, cool, nice to meet you. And I met some really cool people, and I just hit them up and said, you know anyone who's selling any bikes? And I met this one guy, Ishan, legend. He had a friend who was selling a bike, and I was like, great, I've got one bike lined up already. That was friendly bike number 2. It's big. It's got a few more Ks on it than we'd like, and it's probably just out of our price range. But they're friendly as they'll help us. The bike paperwork's no drama. They gave us some fireworks for the for the celebrations tonight. Look at this cow. Now, in the research component, you're just looking for as many good-looking bikes as possible. Obviously, you want low Ks. You want as new as you can get it, and you can kind of gauge the price of the bikes you're looking at by everything that's you're finding online. And we just spammed everyone we possibly could. I was just on that site sending messages to any bike that looked decent because it was a long time consuming process. And I just look at this whole process like hooks in the water. You're just dropping lines, hooks, baited hooks, as many as you can because that increases your odds at catching a motorbike. Fishing, motorbiking, yeah. So in the end, after researching all the bikes, looking at all these websites, talking to Facebook groups, we lined up about 7 bikes. Last night, Jordan and I were hard at work searching these websites for bikes for sale. We've lined up 3. So we're going to see a white 2017 Royal Enfield Himalayan this morning, chatting to him on WhatsApp. I'm waiting to hear back from a guy that has a blue classic 500 Enfield. And then a guy's going to church today. He's also got a white Himalayan, 2016 I think. And we'll meet him after church. So we've got 3 lined up. Let's go check them out and see if they're worth buying, and then we got to lower the price. The complication we ran into at the very beginning was people bail. It's really hard to line up people to go and look at their bikes. So you would be texting and they would just ghost you. You'd be like, hey, is the bike for sale? Yeah, it is. Cool, can we come check it out tomorrow? nothing. And when you're traveling, you're on the clock. So we were doing nothing all day except trying to find bikes. And if someone's like, oh, I can't do it till, Thursday this week and it's Monday, you're like, well, that's too late. So hit up as many people as you can, see as many bikes as you can. So that's step 1, research. You've found your bikes. Part 1, step 2, buying the bike. Now this is the tricky part. Paperwork. You need a physical rego card. This is a hard plastic card with all the information of the bikes on it. So you need that. You just check that the rego card matches the VIN number on the bike.
Usually the registration number.
Then you check that that rego card matches the person's ID, so it's their bike and they can legally kind of sign it away. Then you need insurance for the bike, which we were riding the whole time and we never got checked for insurance or anything. But the insurance, once again, goes with the bike. It's not for you, it's the bike's insurance. Don't ask me how the hell it would work if I crashed it or someone crashed into me. No idea. And then it finally needs a pollution certificate, which it's cheap from any petrol station. Don't know why they need it, but you can just pull up petrol station. Oh, I need a pollution certificate and pay not much and get one. So that's the paperwork that you need. Once again, it's a bonus if they've got all the history of the motorbike, the service history, preferably from a Royal Enfield dealer, because I feel like people who buy a bike from a dealer and spend the extra money to get it certified serviced, I feel like they really look after their bikes. Whereas like a bike enthusiast might be like, yeah, I'll just rip this mudguard off myself and put this exhaust on. And you're like, nah, are you really that good? But they think they are. So bike enthusiasts, what are you going to do? Am I right, guys? Don't hate me, bike enthusiasts. I'm not one. I don't know. Next thing, we took it to a Royal Enfield dealership to get it checked out by a mechanic.
So the chain set, other one is good, just clean and blue? Yeah, perfect, thank you.
It's the most you can do to make sure you don't end up with a dud and end up on the side of the road more than on the road. And then finally, the forms. Now this is the complicated part. You need something that's called a 29 to 30 form. And you can get it just by like Googling 29 to 30 form India. And it's this paperwork that you print. And so here's how the whole Royal Enfield shuffle, which I've just made that up then. That's what I'm going to call it. This is how the buying of the bike works. I can't legally own one, but I can offer a guy some money. I can give him the forms and he will fill out all his details in there, in the paperwork, and leave who he's selling it to. He'll leave it blank so that when I go to sell the bike, the other person fills in their own details and the bike transfers from that person to the person I sell it to. So I'm this intermediary guy borrowing that person's bike. That's kind of how it works. So I don't own the bike, even though I kind of do. And then when I go to sell it, all the paperwork I have in hand, the card, everything, I have everything, and then I get the other guy to fill it out and sign it out. And that's how buying a bike works. So it's a very good idea, which is what we did, is we got the IDs and the names and the phone numbers of the people we bought the bike from. So if we had any complications, we could just call them. If a cop's like, hey, this is not your bike, what are you doing? We could be like, oh no, it's our friend's bike and he's letting us use it. And then he could call the guy who owns the bike and he's like, yeah, they're just using it, it's all good. So stay in contact, make good friends with the person you're buying the bike off, stay in contact and it'll just make your life a lot easier. Now, that leads me to complications. All right, we thought we had 2 bikes lined up, real set. The owners were like, yeah, we're happy with the transfer papers, all that stuff. Then one of the bike guys is like, oh, I can't because I need to know specifically which motor registry I'm signing it off to. Oh, it doesn't sound, he's getting cold feet. And so we are stressing. So we're getting the other bike guy to talk to this bike guy and be like, here's how you do it. Because he's like, I don't want to do anything illegal. We're like, we don't want you to. We just want to borrow your bike and sell it somewhere else. But you have the cash for it. So it's very stressful right now. We're still waiting to hear back on how that conversation went. Because I gave this guy the number of the other guy so he could explain how it works. Oh, I'm so stressed.
I just want to buy a bike.
I just want this bike now and I want to be out of Delhi. We had 3 or 4 bikes fall through because the person didn't want to sign it over to a blank name. And the roller coaster continues. Oh man. We have 1 bike.
We're a day behind schedule.
We're a day behind schedule now. We are trying to line up another bike. It's very stressful. It's a roller coaster. Like, we think, oh, we can just get it. Oh, we can't meet you. Oh, we can buy it. No, we're not comfortable giving you that paperwork.
Oh, we'll meet you. Or ghost you.
Oh, no, we won't. Yeah, ghosted. I've been ghosted so many times by these Indian guys in the most important, okay, meet at 8.
No reply.
Nothing. This. I know what it feels like to be a 15-year-old boy in high school now, getting just ghosted.
Indian time.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
So that's been our day. Tomorrow, please, we just got to get another bike. We got 350 lined up, a 500 on the hook,
And then our last 350 resort.
and our last 350 looks crap, so we're not real keen on that because it's all about the looks with the Enfield. I want to look badass for a month.
Let's do it!
So if there's any tip I can provide you in this complicated-ish area of being like, here's the paperwork, sign it over to nobody, because technically they still own the bike because they haven't signed it over. So really you're the one exposed to the risk because everything's still in their name. The other part hasn't been filled out. But if there's any tip I can offer in this area is be confident. Yeah, I've done it before. I do this all the time. It's totally fine. You just sign it over. No worries. Be super confident. And strike while the iron is hot. When you go and see it and that bike looks good, get the cash and buy it then and there. Don't allow thinking time. Because in that thinking time, we lost a bike because someone else expressed interest and then he thought he could get more for the bike. So we lost that bike. Or they'll go and talk to their cousin or something and they'll go, oh, selling it to an Australian. Oh, that's a bit iffy. And then they like second guess. So it sounds like I'm trying to get you to hustle people, but it's totally fine. It's totally legal. It's not anything bad. It's just that people are a bit cautious about what's unfamiliar. So if you go in with confidence and strike while the iron's hot, it increases your hit rate of getting that paperwork signed so you can get on the road quicker. Nothing dodgy about it. It's totally fine. That brings us to 3, the negotiation. This is the sharp end. You're almost there. You've got your bike. You're going to buy it. Let's negotiate on a price. Now, because we had a limited time to buy bikes, and you probably will too, because you want to get out of the city as quickly as possible, it leaves you in a weak negotiation position because you need it. You desperately want to get this sorted quick, so you don't have time to walk away, let them sweat it out. Oh, will I sell it? Will I not? You don't really have much negotiation up your sleeve. So we ended up probably overpaying a fair bit. Overpaying by $100 or $200 per bike. That's just the price we had to cop for the timeline we were on. We took 4 days to find and buy bikes and get set up to leave. We were planning on 3. 4 wasn't too bad. Now, obviously, when you're negotiating a price, you should already know roughly what the market's going for. Aim for as low Ks as possible. Lowest price you can get. But hey, sometimes it's out of your hands. You might need to take a bike with higher Ks or pay a little bit more. Do what you can, but get it done. Now for the long process of getting out a ton of cash when the limit only lets you take out $200 at a time. And we need $2,500. Who should I mug? It's time to do the deal, guys. We've got about $4,000, a bit over $4,000 here. We're going all in on these 2 private sale bikes. They seem like legit guys. We've been to their house, we had dinner with them, we had some food, so I've already touched on this before, but when you're buying a bike, strike when the iron's hot, meet them the same day, see the mechanic the same day, and just lock in that price. Just pay them cash the same day. Try and do it all in the same day because you don't have time to be mucking around and you don't want them to think about it. Just sell it to you. That's what you want. Now, something that we kind of did but wish we did better, when you're buying a bike, see if you can arrange some kind of informal, can I sell this back to you scenario. That might make life a whole lot easier, being like, listen, if I bring this back, will you take this for it? And you can just sell it again and make a bit of a profit. Keeping that relationship, key. It's good to have someone with some inside knowledge in India to help you out. So build a good relationship with the person you're buying it from. But that's the bike done. And we got our bikes and we got out of there. We now have 2 bikes that we own. We have the legit paperwork. They've been serviced. We have a 500 Classic, a 350 Classic, and we are ready to go. It has been 4 days in Delhi, one more than we wanted to, so it's pretty good. And we're gonna fuel up our bellies and get on the road tonight. So tonight we go to Agra, stay the night, wake up, do sunrise at the Taj Mahal, and then on the road to
Wherever the road goes.
like into like the desert part. I forget the name. Maharashtra. Sounds like you just made that up. But what's an Indian something? Maharashtra. So after this whole trip, we get all the way down to Kochi, an epic ride, trains, everything all the way down. It was a good time. We end in Kochi and we go, okay, it's time to sell our bikes. This was not so simple. So part 2, selling the bike. So you can either sell your bike to a foreigner. This would be very easy to do because you just go, here's the paperwork, man, give me the cash. I don't care. And they've got all the paperwork. They can deal with it. And that would be awesome. The only thing I found is when we were in Kochi, I didn't know where these foreigners were who wanted a bike. So it can be probably hard to find a foreigner at the right time if you're on a schedule to get a flight out of there. When you have all this paperwork sorted, it should just be really easy. You go, you like the bike, you agree on a price, here's the paperwork, you fill it out, you submit it, and the paperwork, the bike ownership will transfer from who you bought it from to who you sold it to. Simple. Unless you're us. So here's what we know so far. Because of these Delhi plates, DL, we are in Kerala, a completely different state. Random rules. This is virtually worthless. We bought it for 1.3. It suddenly becomes, after talking to multiple used bike dealers and garages, suddenly becomes like 50,000 rather than 130,000. So it's less than half. Because for some reason, because it's been registered in 2 states, that stays on the bike paper. I don't know why, maybe you know more than me, but that's it. It stays on the bike paper and just halves the cost because no one wants to buy a bike that has been registered in Delhi. It's weird, I don't know. So if you decide to go and buy a motorbike in Delhi, try and make it back to Delhi. Here's the upside. We have made lots of good friends along the way and we reached out to every contact we have. Some guys were interested in the bike, but they were just lowballing hard. They were like, we'll give you 50. We're like, get stuffed. Laughy emoji, send. We're not gonna let it go for that low. So we hit up everybody, and the guy we bought the red 350 from, we had a sweet deal going with him, and we said, listen, we'll sell it to you for a good price. So we sold this one for $995,000 back to him, and we sold the red one for a bit more than 1 lakh, which is 100,000 back to him. He can make a sweet tidy profit on it back in Delhi. So the good news is these things are easy to put on the train. If you've got the papers of the bike, you make photocopies of your ID, you send them. We put the red one on yesterday, we're putting this one on today. Get it packed nice, make sure it's packed really good because transport's probably pretty rough. So at the end of the day, it works out to be just over $100 a week rent per bike. So that's pretty good for a 5-week trip. That brings us to the end. So hopefully this video, you can do it better than us. You might be able to make money.
Learn from us.
Yeah, learn from our mistakes. We now know what to do, which is not try and sell it in a different thing. I'd probably, if I was to do a one-way kind of trip, I would just rip down one way and then train it a couple of different times back. If you just get back to Delhi, it's easy, bikes are easy to get around. That's what I would do. And then line up buyers in Delhi before you go, like when you get there. Talk to everybody, be like, hey, I'll sell it to you. You can flip it for a decent $400 or $500 profit. That's pretty good. We ended up selling our bikes, both of them, back to the one guy. So one bike, he didn't have to do any paperwork because he just tear up the paperwork that we sent him. And that's it. He already owns it again. And then we sold the other bike to him as well. And so it was a good incentive. He's like, yeah, I'll just resell them because in Delhi, they're still worth a good amount of money. So, but in Kochi, they're worth nothing. Oh, not much. So that's what we ended up doing. That's everything I can think of about how to buy and sell a bike in India. I'll try and link some resources below. If you have any questions that you want me to answer, write them below and I'll get back to you because this is not an easy thing, but it's probably one of the best trips I've ever done. It's such a great adventure going through India on just an old feeling, because they're relatively new, but old feeling, cool motorbike. Roads are dodgy, a little bit dangerous, but it's a good time. So hopefully this video will help you on your next adventure in India. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.